Tell me, what do you think you wish most people understood about handling cases like this?
To be honest, that for me, the client story, it means everything. It means everything because these adjusters, how many cases do they see on a daily basis? And they see everything as a rear end collision. As a fender bender. They see everything as like, oh, another one. They're I feel like they lose sensitivity. They
Yeah, they're
just don't.
numb.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this. I've been here for 3 years, but I've been handling personal injury cases for about 10 years now, almost 10 years. And at some point, like I felt like I was getting there when I was in other law firms because they, at no point in the law firms that I've been before, they care as much as we do about our client's life, about what's going through. And I felt like at some point we were turning into that, like, this is just a number. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Leany, welcome to On the Verge podcast here at Daniel Stark. We're thrilled to have you. You're a Puerto Rico native, born and raised. You got your undergraduate degree there in Puerto Rico. Also went to law school in Puerto Rico. You're a mother of two young boys, so you're a professional. You're managing it all. I know a lot of people that are in that situation sometimes wonder how does a successful female personal injury lawyer, mom, wife, how do you handle, how do you juggle all of that? Because you're super successful here, and just this year you're at 2.6 million in client wins.
Yes, sir.
Through that's through September.
All pre-lit.
All pre-litigation
All
too.
pre-lit.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So you're a negotiation superstar, aren't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am. I take the time to learn my client's story, to know exactly what they're going through, talk to them, and make sure that they take the time that they need to recover and do whatever they need, and then we take care of the rest.
That's awesome. So let's start with how do you manage being a professional and also all of the things you have to manage at home with being a wife and the mother of two boys?
I feel like it's all about having a balance in life. It's not only taking care of my kids at home or my home, but also taking care of myself. When I'm here, when I'm at the office, I'm this one person. I'm Leany Hammer, the real Texas Hammer, as I call myself. And I'm here advocating for our clients and taking care of them. Once I get in my car and I'm on my way to get my kids or I'm on my way home, it's all about being a mom and taking care of myself. Sometimes it could be very early in the morning. Sometimes it could be a little bit later at night. But making sure that I exercise, take care of my body and my brain, because it's the two most valuable things we have. And if we don't take care of those, nothing else would work. But I make sure that when I'm taking care of my kids, nothing gets in the middle of that. And when I'm at work, I'm focused. I know my kids are being taken care of, and I will spend my time with them once I'm done.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know pretty much every single guest we've had on the podcast, and you know, we always, you know, it's on the verge, right? So these are people that are pleased but not satisfied, right? Always working to get better. I know you're one of those people. So they also are people that exercise, take care of themselves. So tell me about your daily routine on staying healthy.
I used to be a cyclist, so that used to be my to-go. I unfortunately I don't do it as often anymore because I used to do it with other people, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to find somebody to go and that can be on the same pace. So nowadays I do a lot of like either running, or if I run 2 days in a row, maybe I go for a walk and make sure that I hit my steps, as we all do now have our watches
How many
telling
steps
us.
are you getting in on a day? What's your goal?
Around
Oh,
13,000.
that's
It's
pretty
like,
good. Yeah,
yes. So I can sometimes hit that just by being a mom at home,
sure.
taking care of my house. But other than that, I make sure that I go through our neighborhood and either walk or run, or just take that time to listen to a good podcast and enjoy an hour and a half of a walk or a run, and just
Yeah,
relax. It's my me time. And then
yeah,
I'm a better human after that.
sure.
I can tolerate life.
Sure, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's good to hear. You're also bilingual. So
Yes, sir.
your native language is actually Spanish,
Yes,
correct?
sir. Yes, that's why I
And
have
then
this accent that is not going away anytime soon.
it's a good accent. And you learned when did you pick up English?
Back in the island, I went to private school, so my whole life I've been learning English. But it wasn't until I moved to Utah that I started practicing it more. So my being able to speak fluently in English, I think it became a thing when I moved to Utah about 9 years ago. But I knew English my whole life, so I couldn't even picture how to learn a second language now that I'm an
Oh
adult.
yeah.
I just was raised my whole life knowing two languages, so I could not even imagine learning a different language now.
That's awesome. I have worked to learn Spanish and be able to speak it more fluently, but it goes away so fast.
It's
You
hard if
know.
you're not practicing all the time. It is
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, we do have our phone number is pretty easy though. Ocho 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 ocho. I can do that.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you like
that's
that?
good.
Okay. Yeah, so we're here today to talk about some client studies, or not client studies, some client stories, case studies, if you will, on real clients that you've represented here recently, cases that are closed, so that we can discuss some of the facts. We're going to keep their names confidential for their privacy, but we do have some names that we've made up for each of them, so we know who we're talking about. So the first one we're going to talk about is Laura. And Laura is a U.S. Army veteran. She works in food service here in the Bryan College Station community. And she was in a pretty severe wreck on November of 2023. Tell me, what was her life like before this wreck?
She was, like you said, she worked in the food industry, and the specific place where she works, she has a lot of repeat customers, so people that go there almost every day or on a daily basis. And people know her there. Everybody know who she is. If you go there, you're going to see her. And the way people remember her is because she always had a smile on her face. She always greet people. She was always a pleasure to be around. And she still is. But she was just a happy person. She was married. Her husband's name is very similar to my husband's name. So we bonded, I feel like, about that. A real amazing guy, beautiful couple. And she was the person that will always have a smile for you, no matter who you are or how bad her day was or how good, it doesn't matter. She would always be welcoming and excited to see everybody.
Well, tell me a little bit about how this particular car accident happened.
She was just driving home after work one day, normal, and then she got to a four-way stop. She did her stop. When she saw that there were no other cars, she proceed to go through the intersection when the defendant did not do the same thing and just ran the stop sign and hit her on the passenger side.
From the property damage perspective, was this a mild, moderate, heavy, severe, catastrophic? Tell me how you would describe the property damage on her vehicle.
My description would be more like a medium property damage. So
Okay.
nothing crazy, nothing that you needed to cut the car to get her out, nothing like that. It was a decent impact. You could see that there were parts of her vehicle that needed to be replaced. You could see the impact, but it wasn't anything like, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah.
But it was
Okay.
noticeable.
Yeah, so it was a medium property damage type of crash. But with Laura, she had a history in the Army. She had some prior type of injuries. If I remember correctly, didn't she have a prior surgery?
Lumbar, yes.
Okay, so she had a low back surgery. Talk to me about what happens when somebody has a pre-existing condition, both from how insurance companies try and use that against them, but then also what strategies you use to use that to go in their favor.
To be honest, most of the times the client is extremely aware and worried about that. And I try to explain them, or I explain to the clients in Texas, you take the plaintiff as you find them. Mm-hmm. So if you had a prior injury, that does not mean that if somebody's negligence aggravate your injury or cause you new injuries, does not mean that you don't have a claim, not at all. It means that we might need to see how you were doing before and how you're doing now. And there's multiple ways to be able to document that and have a good history of where you were before and where you are now. So for me, the main point is that tell me how you are doing. Let me see your medical record. What's going on? I am not extremely worried about having a prior injury, unless you're telling me I feel better now than before, something like that. But the insurance companies, they think they hit the jackpot whenever they see a prior. They're like, well, they were in pain before. They had that before. You don't know that by just looking at a document. You don't know that. And also, after a certain age, we all have degenerative changes in our spine. But the thing is that most of us are asymptomatic. We don't have any pain until something happens, and then you start becoming symptomatic, and then your pain starts happening, and you notice it. Yeah. So it's all about like documenting, talking to your clients, see how they were feeling, and the insurance company, I'll deal with them later. I'll document the file, and I'll have everything a good chronology, and we'll take care of it.
Before the crash, she's all smiles, making an impact in the food service industry. She's got regular clientele. Afterwards, though, tell me what you remember about her mental state and how this crash impacted her.
She was missing something, and it was the smile, the joy that you could see from her prior pictures. I could tell that there was something obviously going on. She was in pain. She was confused. She didn't know what to do. She was told that she needed a cervical surgery on her neck. And she was like, well, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. There's not enough money. There's not enough coverage. There's not enough this. I talk her through the process, and I'm like, my main goal here is to make sure that you get well, that you recover, that we take you back to your pre-rec condition. That's my job. That's number one. Everything else, I'll take care of it. That's something that you don't have to worry about. That's my job. But right now, what I want you to focus on is recovering, getting better. If you need a surgery, you don't need an attorney to tell you yes or no. You have health insurance. Take care of yourself. I'll take care of the rest. It took a minute for her to like let go and like trust, because obviously it's a lot, and there's the stress of the money, of what's going to happen, recovery. I told her, you trust your doctors. You make your decisions. I'll take care of the rest. She let go, and she had her surgery, physical therapy. She's feeling great. Next time I saw her, when I disbursed her case, it was the same Lori that I saw in that picture before everything happened.
That's great. And I know that, it's something that differentiates us here at Daniel Stark is how deeply we'll get involved in the client's medical care to make sure that they get the best doctors, that they get the best medical care, and just help guide them along the way. It's interesting how clients, they do get fearful, like, oh gosh, is there going to be enough money to pay for this? And is there, how is this going to impact the case value? And that's something that us as lawyers have to do. They call us counselors for a reason,
right? And
we have to counsel those clients along the way to help them make those decisions. I think that's a unique something that we have here. It's called One Shot, where we tell our clients you have one shot to get this right, because statutes of limitations will run. We have to make the claim within a certain time period, and so we really work hard to help advise them how to just walk down that path. Remind me on this particular case, who was your paralegal?
My paralegal was Lynette.
Lynette, okay. And how critical are they in helping the clients through that one-shot process?
Oh my God, Lynette was on top of this case, as all of her cases. But every 2 weeks, she would get on the phone with our client, see how she was doing. Sometimes there wasn't any difference in treatment-wise between those 2 weeks. But there was something else going on. How is your life changing? How are you feeling? How are you recovering? How are you moving now? How's the therapy going? And it was extremely important, because the main injury, she didn't feel it initially the first couple of months. The fact that she kept following up with her and talking to her and going through all of her injuries, she was able to find that Laura was still needing treatment, that she needed additional doctors, that she needed to see other medical providers, and she made that happen.
That's awesome. So this crash happened in late 2023, and you've resolved it within earlier this year in 2025. So it was probably a 12 to 15-month process with a client that had a cervical surgery.
Yes.
Correct? And a lot of times, and I think this case is one of them. I mean, there wasn't a ton of insurance here, $250,000, pretty good. State minimum's 30,000, so she had a reasonable. Actually, there was a little bit more than that too. There was more than that with some other policies that were out there, but it looks like you maximized as much of that recovery as you could. And ultimately, do you remember what the ultimate resolution on this case was?
Full policy limits.
280,000?
Yes, sir.
All right, good job. And a lot of times when you have a surgery, that's expensive, but she had health insurance.
She had
correct?
health insurance.
So that's nice. But in Texas, we have this doctrine paid or incurred, right? So they don't let you at trial put up damages more than what maybe the health insurance discount was.
Correct.
Yeah. So her meds were a lot lower, and that's something that we work hard here at Daniel Stark not to focus on the amount of economic damages, but we focus on the story. So I want you to tell me some of the challenges you may have had with the adjuster, and then how you went about telling this client's unique story.
Let me start by saying my method of negotiating, I know I'm Hispanic. I know I have the last name, and people automatically think that I'm going to be like, all in and arguing. I'm the complete opposite. Yeah. I know my case better than anybody. I can tell you the adjuster does not know my client. He knows what he can see in the medical records. I know everything. Mm-hmm. When I got on the phone with the adjuster, he was like, well, the MRI shows that she had some imaging done a couple of years ago. I think it's reasonable for me to get priors. And I'm like, I think that this case, regardless of what could have happened before, number one, you can tell that she was not treating. Number two, you can tell that she needed this surgery. There's no reason to believe that she was surgical before this reg. Well, I don't know that. I'm like, exactly. You don't know that a reasonable insured would tender their policy limits. And he was extremely aggressive. He was like, oh, I'll have an expert. I'm like, I'll have an expert too. Like, what are you talking about? If we file this, well, he wanted to go all in. Mm-hmm. And I told him, hey, my ultimate evidence here against you right now, because this is regarding a Stowers demand, which is a Stowers demand is an offer. It's a demand, but also an offer to settle for policy limits. There are certain requirements. We met them all. Mm-hmm. And before he responded to our Stowers, I sent a 1P demand, a UIM demand, and they tender. Mm-hmm. And I told him the Stowers demand states that a reasonable insured will tender their policy limits. Mm-hmm. 1P thinks that the value of this case is higher than your limits and their limits. They tender before you tender. Sure. So I have a reasonable insured telling me that the case value is higher than these two policies.
Yeah, that's great. So you put him in a high risk situation where if he made tried to offer less, he could have opened the policy there, and then we would have gotten more. I wish he would have made that mistake.
Right. Yeah. We thought about it a lot. Sending the Stowers, I discussed it with my team multiple times, and our legal director, and made sure that this was the right approach. Ultimately, it came down to what Laura wanted and what was best for her, and it was a result that she wanted more than what she wanted, actually, than she expected. It's
always good when we over-deliver for the clients and they're thrilled. Yes. You mentioned your team. That you have a director. That is something different too about our firm. We're a regional firm with 6 offices, and I think we have 38 or 40 lawyers active in the firm that are in, we call in production. They're negotiating or trying cases, and we have a system set up where you get to bring these cases to a committee. Tell the listeners how we do that.
My favorite part of the job, basically. I've worked in different law firms in the past, and I feel like it's a lot of pressure when one attorney gets to somehow decide what he thinks is the fair value of the case. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of responsibility. And the truth of the matter is that we're not all perfect, and everybody makes mistakes. And I can be working on a case for 6 months, and I might miss something. But when we're ready to negotiate on a case, we bring it up to our FSV meetings, which is fair settlement value.
Full settlement
Full
value.
settlement value. I always say fair. It's not about being fair, it's the full
Yeah.
settlement value. So each attorney brings up their case to this meeting once a week, and you present the case.
And how many lawyers are on this meeting?
Usually 5 to 6 attorneys. So you bring up the case and you basically present your case to the rest of the team. You talk about who your client is. That's where we start. Who is your client? How this client will look if we have to go to trial. And then the juicy stuff. Who is the defendant? What juicy information we have on the defendant? And we have information on the defendant.
Oh, yeah.
And the defendant, obviously the at-fault driver, including any vehicle owner, company, anything associated to that vehicle that caused the wreck and the driver. And then we talk about the facts of the case, what happened, how much insurance there is, what was the medical treatment, the total amount of medical expenses, like you mentioned, paid versus incurred, which is not necessarily the total amount billed, but the actual number that the client paid or will have to pay, including any subrogation from the health insurance. So you present the fact of the case, and then all the attorneys get to vote on what they think would be the full settlement value of that case. And sometimes it's like, hey, did you check this? For example, like if they had a cut, hey, does your client have a permanent scar? Small things that like sometimes you just don't think about.
Sure.
So there's other 4 or 5 attorneys that are there to think about those small details and make sure that we don't miss anything. 5, 6 brains are way better than 1.
Sure.
That is, those are facts.
What I love about our full settlement value meetings are that the most aggressive lawyer ends up setting the value on the case. And then the presenting lawyer, though, doesn't want to look silly because we do make them present what they feel like the value of the case is. So if you come in too low and everybody else thinks it should be way higher, well, you kind of look bad. So it's really set up to force the lawyers to be aggressive, which is exactly what we want to be, is just strong advocates for our clients to get them full value. And then once it's set, you can't settle it for less, can you?
No,
No.
you cannot.
So you don't have that authority, which prevents lawyers from trying to just resolve cases to move on. Not that they would, but you end up with a busy caseload, and it's a system set up to help make sure that we all hold each other accountable to getting full value for the client.
Correct.
So that's always awesome. I love those meetings. And there's also something else that happens in the FSV meetings, which is what I call campfire learning. So you're new to the firm, so to speak, right? Because we have a lot of lawyers that have been here for 15 years.
Yes.
And you've been here for
Almost 3
years now. But in those meetings, I'm assuming you've learned a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because you're not only presenting your cases, but you're sitting in on those meetings as well as somebody listening to other lawyers present their cases, and you get to be the aggressive person on the call.
Yeah.
So, as you're a PI lawyer, when you're first starting, you maybe not know a ton about the medicine, but you learn pretty quick.
Yes.
Taking depositions, doctor depositions, and then just reviewing medical records and hearing other lawyers present these cases. So that's a great benefit that we get from our meetings. Okay, so the last thing, so I'll say, it's good recovery for this client. She was happy after the recovery. So tell me about, you remember how she was before the wreck. You know how she was when she came in, how she had changed as a result of being in pain and dealing with all the stress. What about afterwards? Tell me about Laura after all this was over.
She is doing great. She's the type of person that when we disperse her case, that is kind of like our goodbye. She was kind of like sad, like actually sad. I'm like, you should be happy that you don't have to deal with me again. Like if you need me, it's because you're going through this situation. So I was extremely happy. I obviously I was like, I wasn't like mentally prepared to like not talk to her again, like as often, but she let us know once you guys are all settled, I'll come by to have a coffee. And I know Lynette has been following up with her every now and then, and she's doing great. She got a big weight off her shoulders. She had been dealing with these injuries for a year and a half, like needing treatment. So the reason why her case took that long is because her treatment took that long. Her injuries were severe enough that she had to continue treating. But she is finally able to wake up in the morning and not think about the next doctor appointment, the surgery that she needs, the pain that she's in. She can just wake up and do whatever she wants and whatever brings her joy that is not going to medical appointments.
Yeah, great. Great job on that one. Let's move on to, we're going to go codename Bob on this client. 44-year-old male, lives in the crash happened in and around Milam County, which is west of Bryan College Station, kind of Cameron, Rockdale. There's some towns in that particular county. Pretty recent crash, January of 2025. And this particular client, which is different than what we would normally see. This client has a commercial driver's license, driving an 18-wheeler, and was involved in a crash that wasn't his fault. So a lot of times we have the other car that's involved in an 18-wheeler crash. But this time we actually, our client was the 18-wheeler driver on this. Tell me about this case. What are the facts of this case?
He was driving his big 18-wheeler, and like you said, usually that's the bad guy, the one driving the big truck and the one that is not paying attention. No, Bob he's a professional. He was doing his job. He has his own company. He was traveling, and he remembers seeing this car just kind of like driving erratically, like kind of following him, and then would disappear and then come back. And Bob kept just going his way, and then all of a sudden he felt a hard impact, which is interesting because most people might think that if it's a big truck and a small car hits them, that they're not going to feel anything. No, you feel it. Bob felt it, and he had really bad lower back issues that he did not have before. He was able to drive all day and work all day with no complaints, and then this impact happened. And if you see the truck, you would say, well, it's fine. But the impact was severe enough that it broke and I'm not a mechanic, so I'm not going to know the parts. Forgive me, but the part that basically connects the trailer with the truck, that broke. Yeah. And that means that he was not able to do his normal job, not only because of that, but also because he is in pain now and driving 8-10 hours with lower back. I don't know if any of y'all have done that before, but it is not pleasant.
Especially in a big truck.
In a big truck.
They're tough on the body. They're not, there's a lot of bouncing around that happens in those big trucks. Yeah, I think Bob was making slowing down to make a right-hand turn on like a farm to market type road, or potentially like a smaller state highway, I don't recall. But this car hit him so hard. Now, it was amazing that the defendant survived this crash because it was a fiery crash. That car burst into flames, and thankfully the defendant was able to get out. Yes. But in your investigation of this, there was some interesting facts that came up about the defendant. Do you remember?
I know one of them was prior DUI.
Yeah.
I remember another one was a prior domestic violence, if I'm not mistaken. But we had what we call a bad defendant.
Yeah. We always like bad defendants.
We love bad defendants
because we like to put them up in front of a jury, and obviously when a jury doesn't like the defendant very much, they're more likely to enter an award maybe a little more in the favor of our client from a monetary standpoint. But this guy, he wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed.
No,
because he admits to the officer that he was watching a movie on his phone.
Yes.
When the crash happened. That was when I saw that, I thought, wow, I can't believe he admitted to doing that. And he
was honest, at least.
At least he's honest. I mean, but we see a lot of distracted driving happening. And anytime I'm on the highway and I see people just on their phone, you're behind them, you see them on their phone. I was headed to Houston for a tennis tournament for my daughter. We were all in the car. There was a big truck. It was like a rock hauler type truck, and this guy's all over the road, and I'm thinking, what is he doing? I finally find my opportunity to get around him just so I could clear myself from him, and I check as I go by, And he's on his phone. I'm like, come on, man, you're driving an 80,000-pound truck. You can't do that.
Right.
Our client was driving an 80,000-pound truck, doing the right thing. Somebody's watching a movie. Come on, people. We can't watch movies in the car. The defendant is lucky to be alive
He
after
is.
driving up underneath our client's truck. Pretty severe collision. Not a lot of property damage to our client's truck, which
Not visible.
not visible.
Which
Correct.
is the thing. Like sometimes people think, oh, I can't see any damage, but there might be
Yeah.
interior damage or damage underneath that you can't see clear view. But also, I was gonna say, people think that distracted driving is only I'm on my phone. Now, distracted driving could be as basic as simple as a mama driving with her kids in the back and them fighting or asking for something. I've been trying to train my kids to be like, hey, eyes on the road. While mama's driving, I can't do that. I can't change your iPad. I can't do, and it's just being responsible. It's just like the logic thing to do. What I'm trying to say is the cell phone use is not the only thing that creates a distracted driver distracted.
Sure.
There's many other factors. Basically, if you're not paying attention to the road, you're distracted.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
Anytime we can develop facts that show that somebody's distracted, it's helpful for our case. In this particular case, so it's a rear end collision. Not a lot of insurance on this one either. I mean, more than the state minimum. I think you had, 100 and looks like about 130,000 available.
Between first party and third party.
Yeah, not a lot of medical care. Tell me what you remember about Bob. Like, how was he before the crash? What were his concerns when he came to you? Talk to us about that.
He's a hard worker. He takes care of his family. He's the breadwinner. When he's at work, he's at work. When he's been with his family, he's been with his family, and he does not miss time from work. He does not call in sick. Obviously, he has his own company. So when you have your own company, you don't have PTO, you don't have sick days.
Yeah.
So he's very responsible. And I remember one of my last conversations with him, I could hear the frustration in his voice telling me like everything that he went through, that he couldn't make ends meet. How do you say it in English?
Ends meet. Yeah.
So he struggled financially because it interrupted his life. When you're flowing and you have your normal income and you can pay your bills, and then all of a sudden something happens in a second and changes everything. That happened to Bob. And he was frustrated. When he gave me authority, a specific number that he would be willing to accept, he said the number, and then he was like, do you think I'm unreasonable? And I'm like, not at all. Let's do it.
Yeah.
It was a high number for like the average case, what he would accept. And in my head, I was like, I didn't even think when I responded. I'm like, no, it just came out of me. I'm like, no, not at all. Let's do it. Like, let me give it a shot. And the satisfaction of being able to deliver that to him, it meant the world to me.
Yeah, that's
and to
great.
him, obviously. But seeing his face and being like, you did it. And I'm like, I told you we're going to do this.
Tell me about some of the challenges you faced in negotiating that case with the insurance company.
The adjuster couldn't really understand the loss of income, which is a very common challenge, I would say, with personal injury, because I want to say adjusters, but for me, an adjuster is just sometimes it's someone that types information in a computer, to be honest. So loss of income can be challenging. And for him, that was a real big portion of his case. So that was the thing with the adjuster, but at least it was somebody that I could talk to as a human and explain the difficulties that Roberto went through. And I also developed a while ago a life impact questionnaire that I use on my cases, and it's just some questions for my clients to tell me, and it's something that I tell them like, hey, take this home. You have homework. You have X amount of months to work on this. I just want you to have a place that you can express what's going on through your life, what you're going through.
Life impact is a whole another process that we have here at the firm for cases when they meet a certain threshold, right? So we have a counselor, a licensed counselor on staff to visit with our clients to help get a little deeper into their story. And I'm always amazed at I mean, I've questioned and talked to people for a long time. I feel like I'm pretty good at it. But when you take somebody that has the patience and the training in licensed counseling to sit and visit with somebody sometimes for 2 or 3 hours,
Yeah.
it's amazing what they open up a client to truly share. And when we really get those details, that's where the true unique stories come from.
You're
And a lot of times they're the facts that make all the other facts completely irrelevant in the case. So not every case goes through that process because it has to be a pretty severe type of injury. But you've taken that whole idea and said, you know what, I'm going to do this on every one of my cases. I'm going to have a life impact questionnaire to try and get more information. Right?
Yes.
That's really smart. I
Yes.
love that.
My paralegals know that that's part of like their initial call with the client. I'm gonna send you this document, and it's something that I didn't create just by watching TV at home or it came out of nowhere. No, this is something that took months and months working with him, with our licensed life coach. So this is something that we work together, and we went through many changes and developing the process of when are we gonna send it, when do we need it back, what are we gonna use it for. It's not. Let's make sure that I clear something up. I tell my clients, this is not something that I'm going to send the adjuster like, hey, you can have an open window to my client's life. No, that's not even close. This is for me to document your file and to understand your story, because we can be talking here for an hour, but if you have a document that has specific questions that I think would add value to your case, and obviously it has an open space, like tell me more if you want to. This is something that you do in your time, that in your privacy. If you want help from your family, you can do it. There's not a time restraint here. It's something that it would help you, but it's helping me to have a better understanding of your story, regardless if the insurance only has $30,000. Your case is unique because of what happened to you, because you're unique. And I want to make sure that I capture that in some way.
That's so critical. Another huge differentiator for Daniel Stark is we're going to find out our client's unique story. And too often than not, personal injury lawyers are just looking for a quick settlement. Move this file, move on to the next file, that kind of thing. I think it's, that's something we work real hard to never do. Always get to know the clients. And that puts us in a situation where we have our lawyers with a lot less cases. So we have, some lawyers have as little as 20 cases.
Right.
And in you doing pre-litigation, you may have 100 cases, but it's a situation where we're able to get to deeply know the client, because insurance companies, they really want to make them just a claim number or some economic number, right? They don't want to hear the story. The story tugs on their heartstrings, right? And then they start realizing, oh, they have a real story here, that when a jury hears it, I might get into some big trouble.
Right.
So we're constantly working to put the risk on the insurance company, and the more we can learn about these unique stories, the better.
Yes,
right?
Yes. And I explain to our clients the difference between general damages and special damages. There are some damages that you can put an actual number to it, like an ER bill, but there are some things that you cannot put a number to it, like loss of sleep. Loss of like things that bring you joy, your relationship with your partner, your relationship with your kids. There's not a number for that. I can't say that I value that in $500. You can't put a number, and that is important. The general damages for our cases.
Absolutely. Now, something I noticed you did on this case as I reviewed it is you got substantial reductions in his medical.
Yeah.
So you're good at negotiating medical bills down, and that's something that maybe people don't realize. When you get a lawyer, the lawyer takes a percentage of the ultimate win, and so I think there are people that are concerned about that, but what they don't often understand is not only are you by insurance companies' own research going to get 3.5 times more, and I think our firm gets way above that
For sure.
but then the traditional lawyer, you're going to get 3.5 times more than somebody would get without a lawyer. Yes, you're going to pay an attorney's fees, but you're also going to get the attorney's expertise to negotiate all the medical. And if you had health insurance, they also negotiate what we call, that's the subrogation, their right to recover. We would negotiate that down. And you cut this by 46%. 46%, I calculated. That's impressive. Very well done. How was Bob whenever you gave him his final check and told him goodbye? Tell me about that.
Speechless. He was just speechless. He thought, like I said, he thought that when he gave me the number, he thought that I was gonna think he was crazy, and I'm like, no, I've been listening to you for, it was a call like for 10-15 minutes, and he was very passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I think that at some point he felt like he was like being rude to me or something, and I was like, no, I'm just listening to you. I'm here to, this is not personal. I'm not Leany here, Leany from Puerto Rico. Well, I'm here talking to you. I'm listening to you, and every word you're saying has value to me. And I'm gonna make sure that I bring in that value. And part of the ways that we can bring value to his case is by cutting those medical expenses. Obviously, if you have health insurance, I usually recommend mitigate damages, utilize your health insurance, you get the benefits of the contractual adjustments.
Sure.
There are some downsides of utilizing your health insurance, trying to find in-network providers in the area that can see you right away. Sometimes you have to wait a long time. Sometimes your co-pays are high and you're not able to
Sure.
afford them. So we help the clients find providers, and some bills when we receive them are like, it's a little bit too high.
It seems a little aggressive on the charge
Yeah.
there, right?
So when that happens, I make sure that I have obviously the best interest of my client, and I can't in good conscience pay for a service that I know it's not worth that much, or I can't in good conscience just pay and be okay with it. I need to do what's best for my client, and advocating for him when I'm talking to his providers, his health insurance, and the insurance as well.
Well, good work on that case. Last case here we're gonna talk about is a 46-year-old male husband, father, and this is client code name Ty. And this is a December of 24 crash in the Bryan College Station, Texas area. And this was a major collision, though. This was a massive collision. Tell me about Ty. What was he like before this crash?
I mean, first of all, say the date of loss again.
December of 2024. Yeah, right before Christmas.
Right before Christmas.
Before Christmas.
Father of 4 kids, right
Yeah.
before Christmas.
Wow.
The impact was so bad that nobody knew if either of the drivers survived.
Yeah.
I saw the video, like I said, and it was impressive. And they needed to cut his car to get him out of his car. He was taken, obviously, via an EMS to the ER, and he had to go back the next day to have surgery on his ankle.
Wow.
A guy that works paving at a paving company, so he's active. He's somebody. He's young. I'm saying young because I'm very close to his age. So
46, barely younger than me.
Yeah, so
Of course he's young.
But I met him, and this guy is like, he's a strong guy. He's not somebody that is just gonna sit and like do nothing. He's taking care of his family. He works hard. Beautiful family. His wife had to take time from work and just stay home and take care of him because he can't walk. He couldn't walk. He couldn't work. He not only needed surgery, but also obviously physical therapy after the surgery. And he's the nicest guy to talk to. He was always extremely respectful. Me not being from Texas, I love the Texas culture, how respectful specifically males are when they talk to you, just ma'am, no ma'am. That's something that I'm never going to get sick of hearing. It's beautiful the way Texans speak. And he's that guy. And he had a very unique vehicle that when I saw the pictures, I'm like, oh my God, I've seen you before. I know who you are. And I had the pleasure to represent him. And I was extremely excited to be able to get his case done significantly fast, other than waiting for some
it was really
reductions.
pretty fast. Yeah.
Yes, but he's an amazing guy, a family man, very hardworking man.
And do you remember, what was his major concern when he called us? What do you remember?
Well, my initial call with him, I told him how much insurance we have, and he was like, oh my God, I had surgery. I had the ER. My medical bills are extremely high. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. When you go to the ER and you tell them that you were involved in a motor vehicle accident, lots of ERs, I'm going to say most of them say, okay, I have your health insurance information, but I don't have to bill them. I can just
Yeah.
put it here and send a
Yeah.
lien. And that's something that happens. So I have a method of fighting that. So if I see that the ER is not billing, I'm going to send those bills to the health insurance. Like,
Yeah, that's a critical move. It really is,
yes.
because especially in a limited insurance situation where you're going to have limited third party coverage here, and here again you got full policy limits, first party, third party, plus a little more, and you know you were kind of limited. I mean, you certainly were limited. This case could have gone for a lot more had we
Right.
had bigger insurance, and that's unfortunate that happens. Even, you know, and here, you know, it was $132,500 available. You got all of it, but it could have been much worse. Could have been only 30,000, right? Because I
It
mean
could.
that is the state minimum. You've got a defendant here that's you know, young, 22-year-old female. She runs this red light, causes this major collision right before Christmas. So did you have what would you say the biggest challenge on that case was for you?
The definitely making sure that providers bill health insurance. This is a case that he has good health insurance. He was paying for that health insurance, and I was not going to take a no for that, for an answer, because why would I pay the hospital more than they would get
Sure.
if they build the health insurance, and my client is paying for this health insurance to get contractual adjustment and all the benefits. So that was kind of like the biggest challenge, and then dealing with the health insurance to negotiate with them and reduce those liens or their lien. It took a little bit longer than expected, but Lynette was my paralegal on that one as well, and she was on top of it. She kept following up. She wanted to give Ty the resolution that not that he deserved, but that we could under the
max.
circumstances. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You took really some critical decision making there early, some strategies that you put in place to really force the hospital's hand to bill insurance, and then so you're able to get all those contractual adjustments, right? You got a major injury that's going to have a huge medical bills, so you're able to cut that down, compress that by getting all those contractual adjustments, right? Which is like pennies on the dollar. Of course, the hospital doesn't want to do that because they know they're getting pennies on the dollars from the health insurance, and they hope for this big recovery. They want to take as much of that money from our clients as possible. So you were able to circumvent that. Then once the health insurance paid their pennies on the dollar, you knocked that off even further. Let me see here, 32%. So you saved 32% off of that as well. So that's really, really good work. How was Ty when all this got finished up? Fairly quickly for him.
Yeah.
You're able to use those strategies to get him the maximum for his situation. How did he react?
He felt blessed. He was extremely grateful to the hard work that we did for him for his case. But it was mostly like I enjoyed working with him and his wife. Very easy people to talk to, extremely supportive spouse, which is critical in this type of cases with this type of injuries. So I am extremely happy that he had that support system at home. I was able to, at the times, one of the times that I was meeting with him, I was able to even see his kids, and me having kids my own same age, I'm like, I could not imagine having to do this with those injuries, not being able to walk. But he was able to make a pretty good recovery. I can't say if it's going to be 100% the same for him with an injury like that, but he's very positive, and I'm sure that if he's going to put his heart and on his recovery, and he's going to be able to get as best as he can back to his normal life.
That's awesome. I know, too, you were able to secure a video with an open records request on that case. That's something a lot of lawyers don't do, is just make the extra effort to get the evidence early. So really good job on that. Yes. As we close up this On the Verge podcast, Leany, tell me, what do you think you wish most people understood about handling cases like this?
To be honest, that for me, the client story, it means everything. It means everything because these adjusters, how many cases do they see on a daily basis? And they see everything as a rear end collision. As a fender bender. They see everything as like, oh, another one. They're I feel like they lose sensitivity. They just don't. Yeah, they don't. And I've been doing this. I've been here for 3 years, but I've been handling personal injury cases for about 10 years now, almost 10 years. And at some point, like, I felt like I was getting there when I was in other law firms, because they, at no point in the law firms that I've been before, they care as much as we do about our client's life, about what's going through. And I felt like at some point we were turning into that, like, this is just a number. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And then I came to Daniel Stark, and when we do our meetings, quarterly planning, and we hear our client stories, it gives me the chills. It makes me cry every single time. I cry, because it reiterate, like, it gives me the strength and to keep doing what we're doing. I mean, my fuel is max up. Like, I'm excited. I always want to do this and do what's best for our clients. But like I said, like, knowing your client and know that you're doing this for a human, for a person that is going through things in life, that this is not like, I got rear-ended, ooh, it hurts here, and they're not faking it, and that's what the insurance always thinks that is happening.
They think it's some kind of bogus claim, and
yes, every time.
Unfortunately, I think lawyers on the plaintiff side get numb, right? They see a lot of cases, and you can't ever allow that to happen. I know that's something in our culture here at Daniel Stark, is to take every single case and look at it as unique. And I'm proud to have you on the Daniel Stark team, because you have absolutely come in and embraced that. And again, just going back, I mean, you're fairly new here, but 300. What did I say at the very beginning? I think it was in the last 12 months, $3.5 million won. Leany, you are the true Texas Hammer. You've taken $3.5 million out of the insurance company's coffers. You've injected it back in the communities that we serve, helping our clients, paying for doctors, medical care, and all that stuff. You're doing really good work. So I really appreciate you, and thanks for coming to On the Verge podcast.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure. Thank you. Awesome. Thank
Good job,
you.
Leany.
Thank
That
you.
was fun.